Just a little friendly note to all robotics creators, make sure that there's an easy off switch for every single robot, just so that way it doesn't run around and kill all of us. Magic M66. Let me go ahead and explain the context for this review. Now, let me be first off to say that the reason why I picked up Black Magic in the first place is because I'm a huge fan of Shirow Masamune. I love his stuff with Ghost in the Shell. It's one of my all-time favorite franchises in practically the history of ever. And so I wanted to see more stuff that was by him, and I found out that Black Magic was one of his earlier works, and maybe just a little bit rough around the edges, but still worth checking out. Now, truth be told, this plot is about the easiest to sum up. In fact, I could probably make this the shortest plot description I've ever done. Pretty simple. There's a robot that's called the M66 that's developed by the military. It's on its way being shipped to another military base, I suppose. Anyways, there's storms going around, the plane crashes carrying the M66, crashes in the middle of the forest, and now the M66s are on the loose, and the robots are just going and wasting everybody trying to find its target. And during the course of these events, our main character, Sybil, comes across this scene and finds out the military, what they're up to, and they're trying to get a hold of the M66, considering it's a top secret weapon. Not only that, but it's up to the military and Sybil to save the creator's granddaughter, because now it is the target of the M66 robot itself. This sounds awfully familiar. A movie where a killer robot is off hunting down a couple of average-ish people that's in a situation that's way out over their heads. What does that sound like? I thought the exact same thing. That's pretty much what this is. It's an anime version of Terminator. Although if you really want to get technical, Black Magic came out first as a manga in '83 while Terminator was '84, so you could say Terminator is a live-action rendition or rip-off of Black Magic. Oh, who cares the technicalities. One of the best things I can say about this OVA is that it manages to do the suspense in its own way pretty well. You know how like in Terminator when you didn't realize what the robot kind of looked like under the skin? It took a while for it to actually be revealed until the end of the movie? That's sort of like what Black Magic does, but you never actually see it in action until maybe about 20-30 minutes into the movie. It almost acts like a slasher villain in a way, and it kind of built to the suspense of like, what is this thing going to look like? And it actually pulls out the suspense pretty well. Even in some of the action scenes, it's still pretty suspenseful. There's actually one scene involving our two main characters and the robot itself in an elevator. Like, they're both in the elevator, and it's literally within 2 feet. You could literally just reach out and touch this thing, that you could just reach out and kill you. And it's just really intense, and the only thing that is separating it is them and a magnet. That is literally it to keep this giant magnet to protect them from this robot. And it's just so intense, the fact that it's like, holy crap, this thing could get us in any second. But just that kind of intensity is really good. Another thing I have to say for the positive end of this OVA is the animation itself. Yes, it is over 20 years old, but at the same time, it still looks relatively good for what was going on at the time. True, there are some segments that do look a little bit dated. I mean, they don't have nearly as much detail as some of the environments we have now. But either way, the fact that they could do this in '83, or no, wait, '87, my bad. I was thinking back to the manga. In '87, the fact that they could do this is actually impressive in itself, and it still looks relatively good if you just take a note that this is what they could do at the time. To be honest, folks, there's really only two things that this OVA fails on, and that's characters and pacing. Let me go ahead and explain why. During the course of the story, we don't get a chance to know Sybil a whole lot. I mean, yes, we get the sense that she's a freelance reporter, she's very persistent in her job, but we don't know her as a person. We just know that it's just her job and nothing else. And yes, there's some dialogue that sense that she's not really concerned about all family stuff, like she's really married, really digged into her work. And that is respectable, but still, it just felt like there wasn't enough of a character. It's almost like you get the bare bones of knowing a character. It's like they gave them one specific trait each, so that way they could service the plot and they would just move it forward. Now, granted, that's not bad, but it just doesn't add any depth to it. The biggest thing I find wrong with this movie is its pacing. This thing is fast. I'm not kidding you. This movie just goes from point A to Z within the span of 1,000,000 miles an hour. I'm telling you, it's literally within the first 5 to 10 minutes, it's like, here's the situation, here's our main character, here's the problem, here's the target, go. It just felt really, really fast. And that's what I figure is the biggest problem with this movie, is its pacing. It felt way too fast, and I'm just thinking, like, it's almost as if the budget for this OVA, it wasn't allowed to take its time. If this was allowed to be its own feature-length movie, I think this could have worked. And I'm just going to focus on Sybil a moment because she is the main character. It's the fact that Sybil is pretty much the exact same from the beginning of this movie to the end of this movie. There's no character arc or development whatsoever for her. And again, that's probably due in length because this thing is so fast. I mean, I almost wanted to say to Shirow Masamune himself, is like, look, you have a concept here that could work. It would really be fun to have an anime version of Terminator. However, this is way too fast. You can slow down. You can take your time, build up the suspense more. Maybe not show the robot so quickly. Maybe you could save for like the last 10 to 15 minutes so that way when the reveal does happen, it's much more impactful and you're a lot more scared of this thing. However, give us more time to develop with the characters. You can make it work for this time slot. However, it's just, you need to give us characters that are relatable. You need to give us characters that we can sympathize with, and just give us something that's a little bit more of an arc. So my bottom line comes down to this. The suspense was performed really well throughout the course of the OVA. The animation still holds up relatively well, despite being over 20 years old. However, the problems with this movie is that it's just way too fast, and there's not a lot of character development. Not to mention the soundtrack is kind of negligible at this point. So all that taken into consideration, I'm going to have to say Black Magic M66 is fun but flawed. So there you go, everybody. That is my review of Black Magic M66. I hope you enjoyed this review. And right before I close out this review, just give me a moment to give a quick little update. First off, I want to thank you guys so much for giving so much feedback on my important update with all the stuff that I was considering of cutting and not cutting. It seems to me like you guys like the fact that I have so much content, varied content coming through our course throughout the entire entity of my videos. I really thank you for that. But right now, I should at least let you know what I'm going to be doing, of course, in the next couple of days and trying to get a hold of some new tech, maybe a new setting or something like that. One of the main things I'm going to try doing new for my channel is try to do a little bit more of a consistent schedule, thanks to Mr. Mike's suggestion saying, well, why don't you review certain things on a certain day? Like, say, do Tuesdays, Thursdays, Friday, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Sorry, my mind just kind of stopped. And just give a different subject matter for each day. That way you have a more consistent channel base, and that way you have a more consistent flow of content. And I actually did like that suggestion, so I'm going to try and do this. For Thursdays, I'm going to do an anime review. For Fridays, I'll do a game review. And for Saturdays, I'll do a movie review, because that's usually the day after I can see a movie. As well as I'm looking into probably green screen tag just to see if, like, do you guys like the background I have so far, or would you prefer if I had a green screen to have a little bit more of a professional look? That's just my own opinion. Like, I personally would like to try a green screen, but I mean, if you guys like this setting for now, just at least until the end of the year before I start Season 3, that'd be fine. I'll keep this setting. I just want to make sure that we know if we're clear. Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Until next time, I'll parry the Warm Legend. You name it, I can play it.